He chained her to a tree like an unwanted animal. No food, no water, just the sound of her own heartbeat fading into silence. For days, she lay there, broken, forgotten, and invisible to the world. Until one voice, a powerful black woman who had built her empire from nothing, heard the whisper of that pain. What happened next wasn't charity. It was vengeance. It was redemption. And it would turn a story of cruelty into one of the most shocking transformations you'll ever hear. The night was colder than usual. The wind howled through the empty fields, carrying whispers of forgotten prayers and lost souls. Beneath the ancient oak, Lily's small frame curled into itself, her knees pressed to her chest. Her breath came in shallow bursts, white clouds of frost forming in the darkness. She didn't remember when she last ate. Time had blurred into pain, hunger, and the dull ache of being unwanted. Her stepfather, Rick, had left her there 3 days ago. "Stay here," he had said, his voice gruff, eyes avoiding hers. "You're nothing but trouble. Maybe God will decide what to do with you." Then he'd turned, the crunch of his boots fading into the forest, until only silence remained. Before we begin, let me know where you are watching from. Leave your country name in the comments below. And if you love stories about courage, loyalty, and community, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next stories. Lily had waited, at first believing he would return. Then, when the hunger grew claws inside her stomach, she began to understand. He wasn't coming back. Above her, the branches creaked like the groans of the dying. The moonlight slipped through the leaves, pale and trembling, casting ghostly patterns over her face. She thought of her mother. Soft laughter, warm arms, the scent of lilac. That world felt like another lifetime. Since her mother's death, everything had become darker, colder. Rick's eyes, once pretending kindness, had turned hard, filled with something she didn't have words for. Hate. Lily pressed her small palm against her chest. It hurt there, not from hunger, but from something deeper. Loneliness, maybe, or the slow fading of hope. Miles away, in a glass mansion overlooking the ocean, Amara Blake stood by her window. The city lights glittered below, like stars that had fallen to earth, but they no longer impressed her. Billionaire, philanthropist, visionary. The headlines called her many things, but none of them mentioned the silence that filled her heart when the cameras turned off. Tonight she couldn't sleep. Something restless burned inside her. She felt a sharp ache. Not physical, but almost spiritual. As though a part of her was being pulled towards something unseen. She poured herself a glass of water, her reflection fractured by the light. The woman looking back seemed composed, elegant, powerful. But behind those perfect features, she saw the girl she used to be. Scared, hungry, waiting for someone who never came. A memory flashed, a wooden door closing, her mother's sobs fading. Amara swallowed hard. She had spent her life outrunning that sound. Outside, a sudden rumble of thunder rolled across the sky. Rain began to fall, washing over the fields miles away, where Lily lay shivering. Droplets struck her face, cold and sharp. She opened her mouth, tasting the sky. It was the first thing she'd had in days. Then, from somewhere in the darkness, she heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Too heavy to be the wind. Her heart leapt, but fear followed faster. "Rick?" She dared not move. Her breath caught as the sound came closer. One step, then another, the rhythm deliberate, almost cruel. Lightning flashed, painting the forest silver for a split second. And in that flash, she saw something glinting near her feet. A locket. Her mother's locket. She didn't remember having it. Had she been holding it all along? Her trembling fingers reached for it, clutching it tight. Inside, she knew, was a photo. Her and her mother smiling under the same oak tree before everything changed. The footsteps stopped. A voice. Low, hoarse, unfamiliar. Murmured through the dark. "You shouldn't be here, little girl." Lily froze. The locket slipped from her hand, falling into the mud with a soft, broken sound, just as thunder split the sky again. The storm broke open above the forest, drenching everything in sheets of cold rain. Thunder rolled so close it shook the ground, and lightning cracked through the sky like a whip. Lily's thin dress clung to her skin as she stared into the darkness, heart hammering. The voice, that deep, gravelly voice, was still echoing in her ears. "You shouldn't be here, little girl." She turned toward where it had come from, her lips trembling. "Why, who's there?" she whispered, though the wind nearly stole the sound away. No answer, only the rain. Then a shadow moved between the trees. Tall, broad, slow. Her breath hitched. She tried to crawl backward, her hands sinking into the mud. The locket glinted faintly near her foot, half buried, but she didn't dare reach for it. The figure stopped a few steps away. Through the haze of rain, she could barely make out the man's face. Rough beard, torn jacket, eyes that seemed to glint like wet glass. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, though his tone carried more exhaustion than kindness. "What are you doing out here?" Lily couldn't speak. Her throat was too dry, too tight. Her body shook with cold and fear. The man sighed, kneeling slowly. "You're freezing," he muttered, mostly to himself. "Where's your family?" Her lips parted, but only one word came out. "Gone." He looked at her for a long moment, rain dripping from the brim of his cap. "What's your name?" Lily." He nodded once. "All right, Lily. Let's get you out of this rain." He reached a hand toward her, but she flinched, crawling back. "No, don't! I said I won't hurt you," he growled, then lowered his voice again. "Look, I'm just passing through. You'll freeze to death if you stay out here." Lightning flashed again, and for that brief second, she saw something else behind him. Another figure, smaller, moving. Her breath caught. Before she could speak, the thunder drowned out everything. The man turned sharply, scanning the trees. "Who's there?" he barked. No reply, just the sound of the storm and a rustle in the undergrowth. He cursed under his breath, then looked back at Lily. "Stay here," he ordered, and stepped into the darkness. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't obey. She hugged herself tighter, whispering, "Mama, please." The storm raged on. Seconds passed like minutes. The forest seemed alive. Every creak, every whisper of the wind sounded like danger. Then came another noise. Softer this time, almost like crying. A child's cry. Lily's head jerked up. "Hello?" No answer. She squinted into the rain, heart pounding. The sound came again. A faint, broken sob, drifting through the trees. "Who's there?" she whispered again. But the only reply was a flicker of light, faint, golden, shimmering between the trunks. Her fear warred with something else now. Curiosity. Hope. She forced herself to stand, legs weak, and took one step toward it. Then another. The light pulsed softly, as if calling her closer. Meanwhile, miles away, Amara Blake sat rigid in her study. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil inside her chest. She had tried to distract herself with work, but her thoughts kept circling back to that strange ache. That pull she couldn't explain. Finally, she stood and walked to her private chapel, a small room lined with candles and old photographs. One picture hung in the center. Her mother, smiling faintly, arms wrapped around a little girl with braids. Amara, years before her life had changed forever. She lit a candle beneath the photo. "You used to say pain finds its echo," she whispered. "Is that what this is?" Her phone buzzed suddenly on the table beside her. She ignored it at first until she noticed the caller ID. Bishop Daniels, an old family friend, a man she hadn't spoken to in months. She hesitated, then answered. Bishop? Amara. His deep voice rumbled through the static. Forgive the late call, but I thought you should know. There's a child, a little girl, found near one of your charity sites in Westwood County. She's in bad shape. They're saying she might not survive the night. Amara's blood ran cold. What? They're bringing her to St. Joseph's Clinic. I thought you'd want to know, since it's one of yours. For a moment, Amara couldn't speak. That ache in her chest grew sharper, burning. Did you say Westwood County? Yes. Her hand trembled slightly as she gripped the edge of her desk. Westwood. That was where she'd been born. Where her mother had died. I'll be there, she said, voice steady now. Within minutes, she was in her car, rain slashing against the windshield as she sped down the empty highway. Back in the forest, Lily stumbled toward the glowing light. The rain began to ease, replaced by an eerie stillness. The golden shimmer floated just ahead. And when she reached it, she saw it wasn't light at all, but a reflection. A tiny stream flowing beneath the tree roots, catching the last lightning flashes like liquid fire. She knelt beside it, cupping her hands to drink. The cold water soothed her cracked lips, her dry throat. For the first time in days, she felt a hint of life return to her body. Then from behind her came a whisper, barely audible. Lily! She froze. No one had spoken her name like that since her mother. She turned slowly, but no one was there. Only the trees, the shadows, and the sound of dripping rain. Her heart thudded faster. Mama? She breathed. A gust of wind swept through the clearing, and from the mud near the oak, the locket she'd dropped earlier rolled toward her, stopping at her feet. When she picked it up, it was warm. Too warm. And just as she opened it, a flash of light, bright and sudden, cut through the darkness, followed by the roar of an approaching engine. Headlights. A car was coming up the dirt road beyond the trees. Lily's heart leapt, torn between fear and hope. She clutched the locket to her chest and whispered, Please, don't leave me again. The car stopped. A door opened, and through the falling rain, a woman's voice called out. Firm, calm, and filled with something Lily hadn't heard in a long time. Hello? Is anyone out here? The headlights illuminated her silhouette. Tall, elegant, her coat fluttering in the wind. Amara Blake stepped into the storm, and for a brief, impossible moment, both their worlds stopped. The rain softened to a mist as Amara Blake stepped out of the car, her boots sinking slightly into the soaked ground. The headlights threw long, trembling shadows across the trees. She could hear the ticking of the cooling engine, the low hum of thunder retreating into the distance. And something else. A faint sound. A whimper. Hello? She called again, her voice steady but searching. It's okay. I'm here to help. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, from behind the thick roots of the oak tree, came a small, broken sob. Amara's chest tightened. She turned her flashlight toward the sound and froze. There, curled up against the tree, drenched, trembling, was a child. A girl no older than 7 or 8, her eyes wide and terrified, her skin ghost pale in the light. Oh my God! Amara breathed. She rushed forward, kneeling beside the girl. Hey, sweetheart, it's okay. You're safe now. Lily flinched when the light touched her face. Her first instinct was to crawl backward, but her body was too weak. She tried to speak, but only a rasp came out. Don't take me back. Amara blinked, confused. Take you back? No, honey, I'm here to help. The girl's gaze darted past her, toward the dark woods behind. "He said he'd come back," she whispered. "If I moved, he'd find me." Amara's stomach clenched. Whoever he was, she could hear the terror in Lily's voice. The kind of fear that came from pain too deep for a child to understand. "What's your name?" Amara asked softly, removing her coat and wrapping it around the girl's shoulders. Lily," came the faint reply. Amara brushed the wet hair from her forehead. "Lily, my name is Amara. You're going to be all right. I promise." Lily's lips trembled. "People always say that," she whispered. "But they never stay." The words struck Amara like a blade. She knew that tone, that hollow, distant acceptance of abandonment. It was the same voice she'd used once, years ago, when she had waited for a mother who never returned. Amara took a slow breath, steadying herself. "I'm not leaving you," she said quietly. "Not tonight. Not ever." Lily's eyes fluttered shut, as if her body didn't quite believe what her heart wanted to. Amara pulled out her phone with one hand, dialing a number she knew by heart. "Yes, this is Amara Blake," she said quickly when the operator answered. "I need an ambulance at the old Westwood field. There's a child, female, about 8, severe hypothermia and malnutrition." She glanced at Lily again. The girl's breathing was shallow, her hands ice-cold in Amara's grasp. The dispatcher's voice crackled. "We're sending a unit. Stay with her." Amara ended the call and gently lifted Lily into her arms. The girl was feather-light, terrifyingly so. Her head rested against Amara's shoulder, her small fingers clutching at the coat as if afraid to let go. As Amara carried her toward the car, the headlights caught something glinting in the mud. A small silver locket. Amara hesitated, bent down, and picked it up. She flipped it open. Inside was a faded photograph of a woman with kind eyes holding a smiling child. The resemblance was unmistakable. "Your mother?" Amara whispered. Lily made a faint sound, almost a yes, before slipping back into unconsciousness. Amara held the locket tightly. "Don't worry, sweetheart," she murmured. "I've got you now." The drive to St. Joseph's Clinic was a blur of rain and flashing lights. Amara barely felt her hands on the steering wheel, her mind locked in a whirl of memories and fear. The closer she got to Westwood, the more ghosts stirred in her chest. The town where her mother had worked 2 jobs to keep her alive, where she had gone hungry more nights than she could count. When she pulled up to the small clinic, nurses were already waiting outside. "Over here," one called, rushing forward with a stretcher. Amara stepped out, holding Lily close. "She's freezing," she said quickly. "She hasn't eaten in days. Her pulse is faint." The nurse nodded, taking the child gently. "We'll take care of her, ma'am." Amara followed them inside, refusing to leave. She stood by the window as doctors surrounded the small bed, their voices low but urgent. Machines beeped, oxygen masks hissed, and Lily lay motionless amid it all, a tiny figure swallowed by white sheets and blinking monitors. One of the nurses approached Amara quietly. "She's severely dehydrated, malnourished, possibly abused, but she's fighting. She's lucky you found her when you did." Amara exhaled shakily. "Lucky," she repeated. The word tasted strange on her tongue. No child should have to rely on luck to live. The nurse hesitated, then said softly, "Sometimes it's not luck. Sometimes it's grace." Amara looked back at Lily, her small chest rising and falling beneath the mask, and for the first time in years, she felt something shift inside her. Grace. The word clung to her like a fragile promise. Hours passed. The storm outside quieted, and dawn began to bleed into the horizon. Amara hadn't moved from the chair by Lily's bedside. Every now and then, she would glance at the locket, turning it over in her hand. At last, Lily stirred. Her lashes fluttered, and a weak sound escaped her throat. Mama. Amara leaned closer. No, sweetheart, it's Amara. You're safe now. Lily's eyes opened halfway, dull, glassy blue, and for a second, confusion crossed her face. You came back, she whispered. Amara blinked hard. What? You said you would, when the light went away. Amara's heart skipped. Lily, But the child had already drifted back into sleep. Amara sat frozen, staring at her. The words echoed through her mind. You came back when the light went away. She didn't understand what Lily meant, but something deeper than logic told her this was no coincidence. Outside the window, the first ray of sunrise broke through the clouds, spilling gold light across the room. It touched Lily's face, making her look almost ethereal. Amara whispered to the sleeping child. Maybe. We were both waiting for someone to come back. Later that morning, a police officer arrived. A middle-aged man with weary eyes. He introduced himself as Officer Hale and asked to speak privately with Amara. Miss Blake, we found some tracks near where you discovered the girl, he began. A man's boots, heavy tread. Looks like he circled the area a few times before heading toward the North Road. Amara frowned. Do you think he's the one who left her there? We're not sure yet, Hale said, carefully. But the girl's condition, the signs of starvation, bruising, it suggests long-term abuse. Whoever did this might come looking to cover his tracks. Amara's jaw tightened. Then find him. The officer nodded grimly. We'll do our best. When he left, Amara turned back toward the window. The world outside looked washed clean, the storm replaced by quiet light. But she knew the danger wasn't over. Lily wasn't just a lost child. Someone had wanted her gone. And somewhere, that person might still be watching. Just then, a faint noise made her turn. The soft creak of a floorboard in the hallway. Amara stepped outside, scanning the corridor. No one was there. But on the windowsill, a muddy handprint glistened faintly in the morning light. Fresh. Amara's pulse quickened. Someone had been there, watching. And they knew exactly where Lily was. The clinic's hallways were too quiet. The kind of quiet that didn't bring peace. But tension, heavy and humming beneath the surface. Amara Blake stood frozen by the window, her gaze locked on the muddy handprint pressed against the glass. It was large, uneven, smeared with rain and dirt, but unmistakably fresh. Her pulse began to race. Whoever had been watching them had been here not minutes ago. She reached for her phone but paused when she noticed faint mud tracks leading down the corridor, toward Lily's room. Not again, she muttered under her breath and started moving, her heels clicking against the cold floor. The hallway smelled faintly of disinfectant and coffee, a thin veil over the tension curling through her chest. When she reached Lily's door, she stopped, hand hovering over the handle. The room was dark except for the faint monitor glow. She pushed the door open slowly. Lily was still there, asleep, her small chest rising and falling under the thin blanket. But the window beside her bed was open a few inches, rain still dripping from the frame. Amara crossed the room in 2 strides and shut it tight. Her breath trembled as she scanned outside. Nothing but the fading storm and empty fields. Still, she could feel it. Someone had been there. She turned back to Lily, brushing a strand of hair from the girl's forehead. You're safe, she whispered, more to convince herself than the child. I won't let anyone hurt you again. Just then, the door opened behind her. Amara spun around. It was Dr. Mason, the clinic's lead physician, a calm man in his 50s, his glasses fogged slightly from the humid air. Ms. Blake, he said, startled by her stance. Is something wrong? Amara exhaled slowly. Someone's been here, she said. There was a handprint on the window in the hall. Fresh. The doctor frowned, stepping closer. Could have been a janitor, perhaps. The storm brought in a lot of... No. Amara's voice sharpened. This wasn't a janitor. Whoever it was knew exactly where Lily's room was. Dr. Mason hesitated, then nodded slowly. All right, I'll have security review the footage. Amara sighed, pressing a hand to her temple. She hadn't slept in more than 24 hours. Thank you, she murmured. Just make sure that door stays locked. As the doctor left, Amara sat down again beside Lily's bed. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the locket she'd found under the oak tree. Inside, the faded photograph seemed almost alive now. The woman's eyes soft, her smile faint but filled with warmth. There was something written on the back of the photo. Faint, half-faded. For my Lily. No matter what happens, the light will find you. Amara felt a sting behind her eyes. The light will find you, she whispered. Her mother had said something like that once, years ago, when Amara was the one lying in a hospital bed, sick and alone. Maybe, she thought, the light wasn't always sunlight. Maybe it was people, broken souls finding each other in the dark. A few hours later, as the clinic settled into its morning routine, Officer Hale returned. His face was grave. Miss Blake, he said, we found the man we think might be connected to the girl. Amara straightened instantly. Rick? Hale nodded. That's the name the locals gave us. Rick Turner. He's her stepfather. Her stomach twisted. Where is he now? Gone, Hale replied grimly. Abandoned his truck near a logging road about 5 miles from where you found the girl. We searched the area. Looks like he's on foot. But there's more. He hesitated. The truck's passenger side had bloodstains. Not hers. Adult-sized handprints. Amara frowned. You think he's injured? Possibly, or fighting with someone else. But whoever he is, he's desperate. And dangerous. She swallowed hard. He's coming back for her. The officer's expression hardened. That's our concern, too. Amara looked through the window at Lily, so fragile, so still, and felt something inside her ignite. For years, she'd built walls so high no one could touch her. But now, seeing this child, a mirror of her own younger self, something fierce awakened in her chest. If he comes for her, she said quietly, he'll have to go through me. That night, the rain returned. Softer this time, a whisper instead of a roar. Most of the clinic staff had gone home, leaving only a nurse on night duty. Amara refused to leave Lily's side. The girl stirred occasionally, murmuring in her sleep. Once, she whispered, the tree, the light. Don't let him find me. Amara held her hand. He won't, she said softly. I promise. But as midnight approached, that uneasy stillness crept back into the building. A faint creak of metal, the buzz of a flickering hallway light. Amara's eyes snapped open. There it was, again, a sound outside Lily's door. Slow. Measured. Footsteps. She stood silently, moving to the corner of the room. Her hand tightened around her phone. The footsteps stopped. Then, the faint click of the doorknob. Amara's pulse thundered in her ears. She turned off the bedside lamp, plunging the room into near darkness, and waited. The door eased open, just an inch, and through the crack slipped a shadow. A tall figure. The glint of a metal object. A knife, catching the faint light from the monitors. Amara's body went rigid. The figure moved closer, slow and deliberate. She waited. 1 second, 2, then lunged forward, grabbing the nearest object, a steel tray, and slammed it against the wall. The noise exploded through the room. The intruder froze, startled, before turning toward her. Don't move, Amara shouted. Security's on the way. The man cursed, stepping back. For an instant, Lightning flashed through the window, illuminating his face. Rick Turner, the same eyes Lily had feared in the dark. "Where's my girl?" he snarled. "She's mine. You don't get to take her." "She's not your property," Amara shouted. "You left her to die." He advanced, knife raised. "She's mine." Before he could take another step, red and blue lights flashed outside the window, the shrill wail of sirens breaking the tension. Rick hesitated, eyes darting toward the sound. "End of the line," Amara said coldly. He growled, then bolted toward the open hallway. Within seconds, 2 officers stormed in, tackling him to the ground. The knife clattered across the floor. Amara pressed a hand to her chest, trying to steady her breath. Lily stirred, eyes opening halfway. "Amara," she whispered weakly. Amara turned immediately, kneeling beside her. "It's over, Lily. You're safe now." The girl blinked, tears mixing with the traces of rain still on her cheeks. "You stayed," she said softly. Amara smiled through her own tears. "I told you I would." Outside, the storm began to fade for good this time. Hours later, after the police took Rick away, Amara sat by the window again. Dawn was breaking, soft and pink over the horizon. Lily slept peacefully now, her small hand resting on the locket placed beside her pillow. Amara watched her for a long time, feeling the exhaustion seep through her bones. But beneath it, something else bloomed. Peace. And for the first time in years, she whispered a prayer. Not for herself, but for the child she had found. Let her light never fade again. Outside, the first bird began to sing, a fragile melody, rising above the quiet. And in that moment, Amara knew. Both of them had survived the darkness. But their journey, the healing, the forgiveness, the rebuilding, was only just beginning. The morning light poured gently through the curtains of Lily's hospital room, painting everything in soft gold. For the first time since Amara had brought her here, the little girl's breathing was steady, her cheeks touched with a hint of color. Amara Blake sat by the window, a cup of untouched coffee in her hands. She'd been awake most of the night, replaying every sound, every look, every heartbeat from the chaos only hours before. The storm, Rick's face, the flash of the knife, the fear in Lily's eyes. Now that the danger had passed, what filled her wasn't relief. It was something heavier, familiar, responsibility. She looked down at Lily, still asleep, and wondered how a world with so much wealth, with so many people like her, could have failed a child like this. "Miss Blake?" The gentle voice drew her back. It was Dr. Mason, holding a clipboard, his expression softer this time. "She's doing better," he said. "We've stabilized her vitals, and she's responding to fluids. She'll need time, but she's strong." Amara nodded faintly. "Thank you." "She keeps asking for you," the doctor added with a knowing smile. "You made quite the impression." Amara smiled weakly, her throat tight. "She saved me as much as I saved her," she murmured. Dr. Mason tilted his head. "You sound like someone who knows what it's like to be found." Amara looked at him, then away, her gaze distant. "I do," she said softly. By mid-afternoon, Lily woke up. Her eyelids fluttered open, and for a brief, fragile moment, confusion shadowed her face, until she saw Amara sitting nearby. "Hey," Amara said, smiling gently. "You scared me there for a while." Lily blinked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You didn't leave. I told you I wouldn't." The girl's small hands gripped the blanket. "He's gone?" "Yes," Amara said firmly. "He can't hurt you anymore. The police have him." Lily's lower lip trembled. She looked away, eyes welling up. "He said nobody would ever want me. Not even God." Amara's chest ached. She reached out, gently taking the girl's hand. "That's not true, Lily. You're wanted. You're seen. And you're loved. More than you know." Lily stared at her for a moment, unsure whether to believe. Then quietly, "How do you know?" Amara hesitated. Then she said, "Because someone once told me the same lie, and they were wrong about me, too." Lily's eyes softened, curious now. "Did someone hurt you?" Amara looked down, her voice barely audible. "Yes, a long time ago. My father left when I was about your age. My mother worked all the time, but one night she didn't come home. A drunk driver took her away." Lily's face fell. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," Amara said, squeezing her hand. "Because of her, I learned to survive. And now, because of you, I remember why I should keep living." The girl's lips curved in a faint, shy smile. That evening, a nurse helped Lily walk for the first time. Her legs trembled, thin as reeds, but she held Amara's hand tightly as they moved down the corridor. The clinic's halls, once cold and sterile, now felt alive. Laughter echoing faintly from the nurse's station, the scent of broth from the kitchen. When they passed a mirror, Lily stopped and looked at her reflection. Her eyes, large, blue, once clouded by fear, now held a glimmer of something else. Recognition. "That's me?" she asked softly. Amara knelt beside her. "Yes, and you're beautiful." Lily studied herself a moment longer, then whispered, "Mama used to say I looked like her, but I don't remember her face anymore." Amara reached into her pocket and handed her the locket. "You don't have to remember. You can carry her with you." Lily opened it carefully, running her small finger over the photograph. Her voice trembled. "I thought it was gone." "It found its way back to you," Amara said. "Maybe she wanted you to know she never really left." Tears welled in Lily's eyes. But this time, they weren't from fear. They were soft, healing tears, the kind that come when pain finally begins to loosen its hold. Days passed. The police completed their investigation. Rick Turner was charged and taken into custody. Social services came, paperwork followed, but Amara refused to let bureaucracy swallow the girl back into the system. "I'll take responsibility for her," she said firmly to the caseworker. "Temporarily, until we find the right solution." The woman hesitated. "Miss Blake, fostering is a long process. It requires—" "I have the resources," Amara cut in, "and the time. But more importantly, she needs stability now. She needs someone who won't disappear." After a long pause, the caseworker nodded. "I'll see what I can do." When the woman left, Amara stood by the window again, watching the rain outside fade into a soft drizzle. She hadn't realized how much she needed this. To care for someone again, not with money or foundations, but with her hands, her time, her heart. Maybe saving others had always been her way of trying to save herself. A week later, Lily was discharged. She stood on the steps of the clinic in a new yellow dress that one of Amara's assistants had brought. Her hair had been brushed, her cheeks had color again. Amara knelt beside her. "Ready?" Lily nodded, though her small hand trembled as she reached for Amara's. "Where are we going?" "Home," Amara said simply. The drive to the city was quiet, but peaceful. Lily gazed out the window, watching the fields roll by. The same ones that had once been her prison now slipping into the distance. At last, they reached Amara's oceanfront estate. The gates opened silently, revealing gardens, glass walls, and the sound of waves crashing below the cliffs. Lily's eyes widened. "You live here?" Amara smiled softly. "We live here now." The girl blinked up at her. "But I don't belong in a place like this." Amara knelt to her level. "Lily, you belong wherever you are loved." For a moment, the girl was still. Then she wrapped her small arms around Amara's neck. The woman froze, startled, then slowly hugged her back. The ocean wind brushed through the open doors, carrying the scent of salt and sunlight. Somewhere in that vast expanse of blue, the darkness they'd escaped began to fade. That night, as the waves whispered against the cliffs, Amara sat in her study while Lily slept in the next room. On her desk lay the locket, now cleaned and shining under the lamplight. Amara turned it over again, tracing the words written behind the photo. "The light will find you." She thought about how she had found Lily, or perhaps how Lily had found her. Maybe that's how miracles worked. Not through divine thunder or grand signs, but through quiet crossings of broken paths. Just then, she heard a soft noise. Tiny footsteps. Lily appeared at the door, clutching a blanket. "Can I stay with you a little?" Amara smiled. "Of course, sweetheart." The girl climbed onto the couch beside her, curling up quietly. Within minutes, she was asleep again, her small hand resting against Amara's arm. For a long time, Amara just watched her. This fragile, brave child who had survived so much darkness, and felt tears sting her eyes. She looked up toward the night sky. The storm clouds had finally cleared, revealing the faint shimmer of stars. "The light found us," she whispered. And for the first time in years, Amara Blake, the woman who had built her empire from pain and survival, closed her eyes and allowed herself to believe. Morning sunlight spilled through the wide glass windows of the Blake estate, washing the marble floor in gold. The sea beyond the cliffs was calm, its rhythm slow and steady, the kind of peace Amara hadn't felt in years. Lily's laughter echoed faintly from the kitchen. That sound, light, shy, real, filled the house like a melody. Amara stood in the doorway, watching her. The girl was sitting at the table, legs swinging, spoon in hand, her face scrunched in concentration as she tried to eat cereal with far too much sugar. The sunlight caught in her hair, turning it into a halo of gold. For a moment, Amara just stood there, her heart full. "Is it okay?" she asked gently. Lily looked up and smiled. A real smile this time, small but sure. "It's sweet," she said, then tilted her head. "You don't eat breakfast?" Amara chuckled softly. "Usually coffee is enough for me." Lily frowned. "That's not food." Amara raised an eyebrow, pretending to be offended. "You sound like my old nanny." "I just don't want you to be hungry," Lily said seriously, her spoon pausing mid-air. The simplicity of it broke something inside Amara. The way a child who'd known only starvation still thought of someone else first. She moved closer and sat across from her. "All right," she said, "you win." Lily's grin returned, and for the next few minutes, they ate together in companionable silence. Two souls from different worlds, bound by something deeper than circumstance. Over the next few weeks, a quiet rhythm began to form. Lily started sleeping through the night, though sometimes she still woke from nightmares, whispering, "Don't let him find me," until Amara came to hold her hand. Amara began rearranging her schedule, stepping back from board meetings and interviews. For years, her time had been consumed by numbers, deadlines, and philanthropy projects. Now, her days revolved around something much smaller, much more sacred. Morning walks, bedtime stories, laughter echoing through rooms that had once been silent. One afternoon, while Amara was working in her study, she heard a knock. "Come in." Lily peeked through the door. "Can I draw in here?" "Of course," Amara said, moving some papers aside. "I'd love the company." Lily settled on the floor with crayons and paper, humming softly as she drew. Amara returned to her laptop, but her eyes kept drifting toward the little girl. The concentration on her face, the small smile whenever she found the right color. After a while, Lily stood up. "Done?" Amara smiled. "Let's see." The picture was simple, but full of feeling. Two figures, a tall woman and a small girl, standing hand in hand under a giant tree. the same oak tree where Lily had once been left. But this time, light shone through the branches. Amara stared at it, unable to speak for a moment. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "What's it called?" Lily looked thoughtful. "The tree that found us." Amara swallowed hard. "That's perfect." She placed the drawing on her desk, right beside the locket, as if the two belonged together. That night, Amara tucked Lily into bed. "Can I ask something?" the girl said sleepily. "Anything." Lily hesitated. "Why did you come that night?" "You didn't know me." Amara brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I don't know," she admitted. "Something, maybe God, maybe fate, told me you needed me." The child's eyes softened. "Mama used to say God talks through hearts." Amara smiled faintly. "Then I guess he shouted through mine." Lily giggled quietly. "Then you listened." Amara leaned down and kissed her forehead. "Always." As she turned off the lamp, she paused for a moment in the doorway. The moonlight bathed Lily's small form in silver, and Amara whispered, "Sleep in peace, my little miracle." But peace never stayed long in Amara's world. A week later, she received an unexpected call. "Miss Blake?" The voice on the line was clipped, official, Detective Hale. "We've finished our review of the case." Amara straightened in her chair. "And?" "Rick Turner made a statement," Hale said. "Claims he wasn't acting alone." Her stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "He said the girl's mother owed money to someone, a man named Gavin Reese, ex-con, now running a trafficking ring in the county. He implied Lily was collateral." Amara's blood ran cold. "Collateral?" she repeated, voice trembling. "Yes. We're still investigating. But if what Turner said is true, this man might still believe the child owes him something, and might come looking." A cold, familiar fear pressed against her ribs. "Detective," she said quietly, "if there's even a chance that man is dangerous, I want protection for her. Around the clock." "You'll have it," Hale assured. "Just be careful. This kind of man doesn't let go easily." When the call ended, Amara sat for a long time, staring at the ocean through the glass. For a moment, she felt like the little girl she used to be. Powerless. Trapped by the cruelty of others. But then she looked at the drawing on her desk. The tree that found us. No, she wasn't powerless anymore. She'd built an empire from ashes. She'd fought through storms most people couldn't imagine. And now, she had someone worth fighting for again. That evening, she found Lily sitting by the balcony, watching the waves. "Hey," Amara said softly, sitting beside her. "What are you thinking about?" The girl hugged her knees. "I like it here. It feels safe." Amara smiled, though her heart ached with the truth she hadn't yet told her. The danger might not be gone. Lily looked up suddenly. "You look worried." "I'm just thinking." "About bad people?" Amara hesitated. "Yes, but don't worry. I won't let anyone hurt you." Lily leaned against her shoulder. "You already didn't." That simple sentence undid her. Amara wrapped her arm around the girl, holding her close as the sky turned shades of pink and orange. The ocean whispered below, vast, endless, and alive. And though fear still lingered at the edges of her mind, Amara felt something stronger rising within her. Resolve. She whispered a quiet promise to the horizon. Whatever comes next, we face it together. As dusk fell, the waves glowed with the last light of day, golden and trembling, like hope itself refusing to die. The following week unfolded in deceptive calm. The sea whispered against the cliffs, the garden filled with lavender and late roses, and for a few blissful days, Amara let herself believe that the world had finally loosened its grip on tragedy. Lily laughed more now. She ran barefoot through the hallways, painted seashells by the window, and hummed songs Amara didn't recognize, maybe echoes from a time before pain. Each sound of joy stitched something inside Amara back together. But peace, she knew too well, was fragile. And that evening, the phone call shattered it. "Miss Blake," said Detective Hale, his voice tight, "we've got a problem." Amara felt her chest tighten. "What kind of problem?" "The man I told you about, Gavin Reese. He disappeared 2 nights ago. His safe house was found empty, and his car was abandoned near the coast. We believe he's gone underground." Amara gripped the phone so hard her knuckles turned white. "You think he's coming here?" "We can't confirm that, but Turner's confession made it clear Lily's mother was connected to him. If Reese believes the girl could expose him, he might try to silence her." Silence her. The words stabbed like ice. "What do you suggest I do?" "We've already assigned a patrol car near your property, but keep your staff minimal. Make sure the girl isn't left alone. Not for a second." Amara looked through the glass walls at the small figure playing by the balcony. "She won't be," she whispered. That night, the wind rose from the sea. The waves crashed harder than usual, and clouds smothered the stars. Amara checked the locks twice, turned on the security cameras, and stayed near Lily's room. But the unease wouldn't leave her. Around midnight, she went downstairs to make tea. The house was silent. Too silent. Then she saw it. A faint red light blinking on the security panel near the door. One of the cameras had gone offline. Her pulse spiked. She crossed the room, heart pounding. When she looked outside, she thought, just for a heartbeat, that she saw a shadow move along the edge of the garden. Probably just the guards, she whispered to herself. But her voice trembled. She turned off the light so her reflection wouldn't show in the glass, and peered out again. The garden lamps flickered in the wind. And then, a sound. A click. Metal against metal. Someone was at the gate. Amara grabbed her phone and called security. No answer. Another try. Still silence. Panic clawed at her chest. She rushed upstairs to Lily's room. The girl was awake, sitting up in bed, clutching her stuffed bear. "Amara?" Lily whispered. "I heard something." "I know," Amara said, trying to sound calm. "It's all right. Come with me." They moved quietly through the hall. Every creak of the floor felt like thunder. Amara led her into the panic room hidden behind the bookshelf in her study. A small steel chamber she'd had built years ago, after a robbery attempt. She keyed in the code, ushered Lily inside, and knelt beside her. "Stay here," she said firmly. "No matter what you hear, don't come out until I tell you." Lily's eyes were wide with fear. "You're not coming. I have to make sure it's safe." "Please don't leave me," Lily whispered, tears spilling over. Amara cupped her face. "I won't be far. You're my light, remember? The light that found me, I'll come back." Then she closed the door. Downstairs, the storm had begun in full. Rain slashed across the windows. Thunder rolled over the sea. Amara grabbed the pistol from the drawer, something she hadn't touched in years. She hated it, but fear had a way of silencing principles. She crept toward the back door. Lightning flashed, and in that brief white glare, she saw him. A man, tall and broad, standing just beyond the glass, his face partly shadowed, his clothes soaked, but his eyes, pale, cold, relentless, locked onto hers. Gavin Reese. Her heart stopped. He smiled, a slow, predatory smile, and raised his hand. Something glinted in it. A knife. Amara stepped back, heart racing. "You need to leave," she said, though her voice trembled. "The police will be here any minute." "Police?" he said through the glass, his voice muffled by the rain. They can't save her. You think I came this far to leave empty-handed?" He slammed his fist against the glass. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Amara lifted the pistol, hands shaking. "Don't! Where is she?" he snarled. "That little brat owes me more than you can pay." Something inside Amara snapped. Years of grief, fear, and guilt rising into fire. "She doesn't owe you anything," she said, her voice low, trembling with fury. "You've taken enough from her, from all of us." Reese sneered. "You think your money makes you safe?" Amara steadied her aim. "No. But love does." And before he could move, she fired. The shot cracked through the storm. Reese staggered backward, clutching his arm, cursing. He stumbled into the garden. Then the night swallowed him whole. The next minutes were chaos. Alarms blaring, lights flashing, guards storming in. By the time police arrived, Reese was gone. Blood led to the cliffside, but the rain had already begun washing it away. They searched until dawn, but found nothing. Detective Hale's face was grim. "We'll keep looking," he promised. "He's injured. He won't get far." Amara nodded, numb. When it was over, she went to the panic room and opened the door. Lily sat there in the corner, clutching her bear, eyes wide, but safe. Amara dropped to her knees, pulling the girl into her arms. "It's over," she whispered, voice breaking. "It's over." Lily trembled against her chest. "I heard the noise. I thought—" "I know, baby," Amara said, holding her tighter. "But you're safe now. I promised you, didn't I?" Lily nodded weakly. "You came back." Amara smiled through tears. "Always." When morning came, the sky cleared. The sea was calm again, as if the night had never happened. Amara stood on the balcony, watching the sunrise. She was exhausted, body and soul, but alive. Lily joined her, wrapped in a blanket, eyes still heavy with sleep. "Is he gone?" she asked softly. "Yes," Amara said. "And he won't hurt you again." The girl leaned her head against her arm. "You saved me again." Amara turned to look at her. "No, Lily. This time, we saved each other." They stood there in silence, watching the light spill over the waves, golden, warm, unbroken. For the first time since the darkness began, Amara truly believed it. The light hadn't just found them. It had chosen to stay. The days that followed blurred into quiet recovery. The storm had passed, but its echo lingered, in the creak of the walls, in the shadows that seemed to stretch longer than they should, in the quiet way Amara checked each window before bed. Gavin Reese had vanished, his body never found. Some said he fell into the sea. Others whispered he fled across the border. But for Amara, it didn't matter. Evil had a way of destroying itself, and this time, she chose to let the ocean carry the past away. 2 months later, the Blake estate had transformed. The rooms once filled with silence now sang with color. Lily's paintings hung on the walls, suns, trees, oceans, and always 2 figures holding hands. Every morning, she followed Amara into the garden, planting tiny seeds in the soil. "They'll grow tall," Lily would say confidently. "Just wait." Amara would smile and nod, though part of her marveled at how a child who had known hunger could still believe in growth. The world outside moved on, press releases, corporate projects, invitations. But Amara found herself turning them down one by one. She no longer felt the need to prove anything. For years, she had built empires to fill the emptiness inside her. Now she found her purpose in something smaller. Breakfast together, laughter over spilled paint, prayers whispered before bed. Love had rebuilt what success never could. One morning, a letter arrived from Detective Hale. Amara read it quietly, while Lily played with seashells nearby. "Miss Blake, the case is officially closed. Evidence confirms that Gavin Reese drowned the night of the incident. His organization has been dismantled. Lily's legal guardianship is now under review. Given your ongoing care and her attachment to you, the court has fast-tracked your adoption petition. Expect final approval within the week. Congratulations, and thank you. From all of us, for giving this child a chance at life." Amara stared at the words until they blurred. Adoption. Her heart swelled and trembled all at once. She looked up. "Lily," she called softly. The girl turned, seashells clutched in her hands. "Yes?" Amara knelt, holding the letter. "I have something to tell you." Lily blinked curiously. "Is it bad?" "No, sweetheart, it's the best thing." Amara's voice wavered. The court said, "You can stay with me. Forever." For a moment, Lily didn't react, as if her heart needed time to believe. Then the seashells tumbled from her hands, scattering across the floor, and she threw her arms around Amara's neck. "Forever?" she whispered, voice shaking. "Forever," Amara said, holding her tight. "No more goodbyes. No more fear." The girl began to cry softly, not from pain this time, but from release. Outside, the sea glittered in the sunlight. The same waves that once swallowed their nightmares now shimmered like promises. That evening they celebrated in the garden. Amara's small circle of trusted friends joined. Her assistant, Emma, Dr. Mason, and a few staff members who had become family. Lanterns hung from the oak tree, swaying gently in the breeze. Lily wore a white dress and a flower crown that Emma had woven. She twirled under the fading sun, laughter spilling like music. When Amara looked at her, she didn't see the fragile, starving child from that first night. She saw strength. She saw light. And for the first time, she allowed herself to breathe without fear. Later, after everyone had gone, they sat beneath the oak tree. The lanterns flickered softly above them. Lily leaned against her, gazing up at the stars. "Do you think Mama can see me?" Amara smiled. "I think she never stopped watching." "Then she knows I found you." Amara brushed a tear from her cheek. "Or maybe we found each other." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe that's what God does. He lets lost people bump into each other until they both find home." Amara laughed quietly. "You're wiser than most adults I know." "I had to grow up fast," Lily said simply. Amara's chest tightened with love and sorrow all at once. "Well," she said softly, "you don't have to anymore. You can just be a little girl now." Lily smiled sleepily. "And you can just be my mom." The word mom hit Amara like a prayer. Fragile, sacred, and whole. She wrapped her arm around Lily and kissed her forehead. "Yes, my love, I can." As the night deepened, the ocean whispered against the cliffs. Amara looked up at the sky, vast and scattered with stars, and thought about everything that had brought her here. The loss, the pain, the guilt, the fight, and finally, the miracle of a second chance. She remembered the words engraved on the locket. "The light will find you." And for the first time, she understood. Light doesn't come to erase the dark. It comes to teach us how to see through it. 1 year later. The Blake Foundation launched a new project, the Lily Homes, shelters for abused and abandoned children across the country. Each one carried a plaque with an inscription chosen by Lily herself. "There's always a light, even under the tree." Reporters wrote articles, cameras flashed, and donors applauded, but Amara barely noticed. What mattered to her was the small hand that held hers during every speech. And when they walked out of the building together, the world waiting beyond the glass, Lily turned to her and said, "Do you think we can help all the lost kids someday?" Amara smiled, eyes bright. "One at a time, darling. That's how light spreads." They stepped into the sunlight hand in hand. A woman who had built her empire from pain, and a child who had rebuilt her heart with love. The sea roared softly in the distance. The wind carried the scent of new beginnings. and for the first time in both their lives, there was no fear in the air. Only peace. Only belonging. Only the light that had finally found its home.